Hello everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Oliver, and today we'll talk about full open source VDI stack using UDS Enterprise with XCP-ng and Xen Orchestra. I hope everybody's set, and here's the plan for today. So first, I will introduce you quickly to my company and myself, and what exactly is XCP-ng and Xen Orchestra. After that, Yolanda will do the same with UDS Enterprise. And next, make a kind of recap of this whole stack, explaining some benefits of it. And I will do a demo of XCP-ng and more Xen Orchestra to explain and to show you what it looks. And Victor will do the rest with UDS Enterprise itself. And finally, we'll do a Q&A session, and you could ask all the things that you want. Okay, so let's start. First thing first, I'm Oliver. I'm the CEO of Vates. I'm behind both Xen Orchestra and XCP-ng projects. I created both those projects. You can follow us on Twitter, on the XCP-ng handle for on Twitter, and Xen Orchestra too. About the company itself, so the subtitle of Vates when we created in 2012 was turnkey open source solution. So we did open source since the start. We are based in Grenoble, so it's in the Alps, southeast in France. We are basically Xen experts, so Xen the hypervisor, because we are doing product based on Xen since the inception of the company. We are kind of a reference around both XenServer and XCP-ng industry. So we are making backup product management and cloud enabler products on top of those both products. So what about XCP-ng? So for people who don't know what's XCP-ng, it's basically a turnkey open source virtualization platform. So I will split this sentence in 3 points to explain it a bit more. So first, what's a virtualization platform? So it's not just the hypervisor, which is using Xen, but it's a complete stack using compute network storage and an API. So in XCP-ng, it's using Xen, OpenVSwitch, SMAPI for the storage, and ZAPI, which is the API, and all those components are XCP-ng. Okay, so then it's turnkey. So what does it mean? It means that XCP-ng is like a Linux distro. It means you don't have to install it on top of an existing Linux distro. You just download the ISO, you install it on your servers, and it just works out of the box. So that's the great thing about it is you don't have to configure anything manually inside the distro. Everything goes through the API. So it means when you want to create a network or VMs or whatever, you can use a client to this platform. So you can use, for example, Xen Orchestra, which will connect to the API. So also there is no agent to install on your host because the API can do everything for you. You just deploy Xen Orchestra, connect to your host, and that's it. You can start to work with it. The last point is about being open source. And when I say open source, it's not just about the license itself. Yes, it's GPL v2, it's fully open source, but more than that, you got a big community behind it. On the forum, for example, on XCP-ng forum, there's a lot of people participating, asking for new features, etc. And people are coming from everywhere around the world. So this is really interesting to have people. And that's why we also have a good documentation, a wiki. Everyone can modify it, but also you can understand how to develop inside XCP-ng because every step is documented. So this is really great to have everyone on board. We are also working to be inside the Linux Foundation really soon. So this is really an open project. Everyone can shape it for its own needs. And about Xen Orchestra, you can see Xen Orchestra as the layer on top of XCP-ng. It's a way to administrate and use all your hosts within the same web UI. So you access it from a web browser. You will see a demo after that. And it means only one interface to manage all your pools, all your hosts. So if you have, let's say, multiple sites around the world, you have one UI to manage them all. Also, Xen Orchestra is a backup and disaster recovery solution. I will show you in the demo, but in short, you can back up everything and restore everything, even if you lose all your hardware. We can restore everything on fresh new hardware. This is one great point of virtualization. Also, it's what we call the cloud enabler. It means that we can, for example, delegate some VMs to your internal developers team or even to customers. So you can let your user or customers to create VMs or access to those VMs through the web UI. Okay, so it was a quick introduction to XCP-ng and Xen Orchestra. The next speaker will be Yolanda from VirtualCable, explaining what's UDS Enterprise.
Good afternoon. I'm Yolanda Gonzalez for VirtualCable's Commercial Department. The first thing I want to do before anything is just to thank you for your assistance, and we hope that the webinar is of your interest and usefulness. As VirtualCable is a Spanish company, we have over 25 years of experience in software development, and since the last 10 years, we have worked intensively on virtualization technologies, as we believe that this is inherent to the success of any company that wants to be at the forefront of efficiency, security, management, etc. When we decided to start this journey, create our software, we had clear what requirements we had to meet, what technical characteristics should be contained, which of course are very important, but at the same time, we wanted to be identified by our product, what we now call DNI. We wanted our customers to see us through our software, a little of who we are, how we feel, what we think, etc. So we caught ourselves expressing moods, expressing feelings, atmosphere. We were talking about freedom, sharing, empathy, versatility, compatibility, generosity, evolution, security, and we think UDS Enterprise is exactly a reflection of all of this. Our commercial references are in education, in public administration, small and medium and major accounts. What is UDS Enterprise? Well, it is a multi-platform connection broker that will allow us, among many other things, to implement Windows and Linux desktops. And of course, we can also implement applications virtualization, and it's also feed for consolidation of desktop services. All of this, we can do it on premise from our own data center, from one that, for example, we have in hosting, or in the cloud. Both can be public and private, in traditional environments and also hyper-converged ones. In that sense, UDS Enterprise is agnostic. In short, it will manage automatically the access of users to IT resources, either, as I said before, in the data center or in the cloud. Which are the main features? You can access from any device and from anywhere in the world. You can even do it without installing any software through HTML5 or from any device that has a browser. We have native, as I said, from Windows and Linux desktop. Also, two advanced level cache system to leave suspended desktops on hold without consuming resources in the data center. And of course, we have also one secured access to guarantee security when we access our virtual desktop from the outside, and also increase the security with splitted authentication. We have the ability to implement high availability, load balancing, manage any IP service, of course, and also support BYOD for those users who work with their personal device but access from them to applications and corporate data. Which are the benefits? See, the characteristic that our customers point out the most is that the administration and the daily usability are very simple. That is to say that the learning curve is relatively short. It is very flexible because we can make implementations from 50 virtual desktops to thousands and thousands. It is also open source core platform customization. That means that as a user, you can customize it as per your needs. You can remove our logo, and you can add your logo, and you can modify it and adapt as per your requirements. It has also a very easy integration and migration to third-party software. That is, it is prepared to interact with any software. And also we have the roadmap. This is something very interesting. It's based both on requests from customers and the community. See, UDS Enterprise is the result to the needs of those companies and organizations that demanded an open, affordable, and fully customizable VDI solution. In the beginning, our product was developed with the collaboration of several Spanish universities that looked for an alternative to the rigid and closed solution of the big manufacturers. These are the advanced features like API REST. We are compatible with Moodle, OpenGenesis, flexible authorization groups. You can get real-time statistics and reports, and you also can schedule the power up of virtual machines for them to be ready by the user whenever they would need it. These are all, we are compatible with all the multiple hypervisor, like Citrix and XenServer, multi-protocol, multi-authentication system. Of course, this gives us a lot of flexibility, versatility, and logically possibilities. What it means that we are multiple hypervisor is that the UDS Enterprise will run on XenServer, Hyper-V, Nutanix, all of this. And in the same way that we are multi-protocols, this gives us the possibility of guaranteeing that the user experience, whatever profile it is, and using the application that is being used, will be suitable for working. We can use RDP, which for office staff will be very good. But if within the work team we have, I don't know, people who use a little heavier applications such as Photoshop, or need to consume audiovisual content constantly, so we can access through the PCOIP protocol. And finally, we are also multi-authentication system. All of this is really, really important, but it's not only that, is that a part of that, UDS is able to do it simultaneously. Summing up, UDS Enterprise, we can say that acts as a traffic agent that when a user logs in, identifies the user and gives the results that has been configured by the system administrator. And it is also responsible for seeing if the user is making an access through the LAN or is within our network environment or from the outside. In case it is being done from outside, then the broker calls the tunneler and provides a secure tunnel. And finally, also the database, which with these three components, we service, as I said before, from 50 to thousands of virtual desktops. And now is the turn again of Olivier.
So now I will talk about the full stack solution. So it's a kind of a recap of what we just presented to you before. So before doing a demo, so I'd like to remind you that this stack can work both on-prem or whatever you want to put your server inside a DC or renting server or whatever you want. So this stack is based, you got your hardware, you install XCP-ng on it, and then on top of that, you can use Xen Orchestra and UDS. So you get everything you need for both server virtualization and desktop virtualization. And the great point about that is that all the three components are fully open source. So it means you don't have any lock-in, and also it's cost competitive. So I didn't talk about it before, but XCP-ng and Xen Orchestra are mainly based on support regarding the business model. So you can just, download XCP-ng, use it, and if you want professional support on it, you can, pay for it. Same for Xen Orchestra, and the same concept for UDS. So the goal is to provide you something that you can use, something that you can shape. I would say this is the main thing that's interesting with this full stack solution. It means that you have the possibility yourself to shape the future of all these products, because unlike really big, huge players, having some kind of a monolithic thing, here you have something that you can, assemble the bricks that you need, and, require, for example, dedicated or specific stuff. You can ask for it. You can even contribute to it if you want to do so. So all of those components are already working together, but we want to even improve this integration between all these components to have really something that's both turnkey, open source, and without any lock-in. So now I will show you a bit about XCP-ng, Xen Orchestra, and after my quick demo, it will be Victor's turn. So first, I will show you the web UI of Xen Orchestra. So it's a bit, I can really show you what's XCP-ng because this is a virtualization platform, but I can show you the UI on top of it. Just to give you some information, so the website of XCP-ng is xcp-ng.org, and you can go there to download it and use it. And as I said, we got a great community, we got a great forum with a lot of people asking questions there. So I strongly suggest that you take a look on the forum. So basically, download it, you get the ISO, and you burn it into a USB key or a CD, and you install it, and that's pretty much it. As soon the host have the XCP-ng installed on it, then you can deploy Xen Orchestra on top and manage it. So to give you an idea, for this demonstration, I just rent a server at online.net, which is a provider. You can rent some bare metal servers there. I rent 2 hosts in France, and then I install them with, it was Dell hardware, so I use an iDRAC thing to load the ISO, so I install it remotely. And then in Xen Orchestra, I just had to go to settings server and to connect the pool master with the IP address, the username, the password, and instantly I got all the pool and the host appears. So as you can see here, we are in the pool view. So it's home and pools. I got one, it's demo pool containing 2 hosts. If you want to see the stat, you can go directly inside the dashboard view. So the dashboard will give you kind of a recap of what do you have inside your infrastructure. So here it's pretty easy because you just have 1 pool, 2 hosts, 15 VMs. You can see the CPU usage, how you're using your storage and the RAM, etc. So in our case, we got 2 hosts, XCP-ng-demo1 and 2. Those 2 hosts are accessible from outside. So that's how I connected them. And then inside the home VM view, I can see that this is my XOE VM. So basically to get that, to deploy Xen Orchestra, you go on xenorchestra.com website, you download it, and then you deploy it. So to deploy it, it's pretty easy. You just have a one-liner to get it. So you type one command inside your host, and you get it. It's basically XOE is a VM, a Debian VM, as you can see here. And this VM is doing all the work for you. Everything is pre-installed in it. So you just have to go in the IP address of the VM and log in and access to everything of your current infrastructure. So this is the web UI, so you can manage your VMs here. So if you click on a VM, you can see a basic recap of the VM. You can see more details about how it's behaving, the CPU usage, memory usage, network throughput, etc. You can even access to the console remotely. So the goal of the console is here more for quick access for something, for example, during installation, etc. But it's using the VNC protocol, so it doesn't make sense to use that for a virtual desktop. It would be far better to use UDS on top to get your desktop remotely, okay? But this could be useful, you know, just to access it, to install it, and do basic administration tasks directly from the browser without any plugin installed. It's HTML5 directly. Okay, so you can also set the network, the disk of the VM, create disk, whatever you need. So you can see that as basic admin tool directly from the UI. You can also create a VM from there. So it's pretty simple to create a VM. Let's, for example, show you. Let's try to create a small test VM based on Debian. So you set the CPU number, the memory, the RAM of the VM. You select an ISO to boot on it. I don't need a network, so you just click on create, and then you have to wait, and you can check the console, and the VM will be created and will boot on the ISO directly. So you can, you know, make the install, for example, of Debian VM. We won't do the whole process here because it's a bit long, but it was just to show you that you can create something relatively easily by just going to new VM view and create the VM pretty easily. This is the basic main feature. As you can see, we got some UDS VM, but Victor will explain you later why they are here and what's going on there. But then I will show you a bit more about other feature of Xen Orchestra. So I said, after the basic administration stuff, by the way, you got a filter here, and you can, you know, hide or show the running VM or a VM running, you know, Debian or whatever you want. So this is a powerful filter. But the main thing of Xen Orchestra is also to be able to make a backup. So a backup is could be different kind of backup. You can backup your VMs using multiple mechanism of backup. For example, doing rolling snapshots, being able to roll back. But just a quick warning, a snapshot is not a real backup, but it's really convenient to roll back in time. To do real backup, you got backup and delta backup. We got a video on YouTube explaining all the details of the backup Xen Orchestra, the difference between each mode. You can go on YouTube to find more about that. We got a channel. It's called Vates channel on YouTube. You'll find 2 videos, and the one interesting you for doing backup is this one. It's administer and backup your VM infrastructure the easiest way. So it works both with XenServer and XCP-ng. So in our case here, we can start to, for example, decide to backup some VMs running on XCP-ng if you want. You can select the VM we want to backup. So backup is really powerful because, as I said, you can restore even if all your current infrastructure is dead. It means by that, if your store, the remote, the place where you store all the backup is still intact, but you lose everything else, even a fresh Xen Orchestra connecting to this remote would be able to restore all those VMs to any XCP-ng or XenServer hypervisor. So this is really interesting because it's more than just backup. It can be a complete restore from catastrophic events. So these are backups. You have also DR and CR, which are disaster recovery and continuous replication. The main difference with backup and delta backup is the fact that you can send a copy of the VM inside another host. For example, if you have a second data center in another country, it could be useful, you know, to reduce the time to restore a VM because it's ready to boot on the other side. Okay, so backup is really powerful, and I really invite you to see the video on YouTube because you will have all the details on it. And this is more to make you a quick tour of Xen Orchestra and XCP-ng. You also have the self-service feature, which is really interesting if you want to delegate VM creation for your VMs inside a kind of resources. So it means you will, you know, make a resource set telling that I just have one user, but you can create users, and said those users or groups will have the right on this pool to use this network and using this storage repository and create this template only, and using a maximum of, let's say, 12 CPUs and 32 gigs of RAM and 100 gigs of disk space. And it means that the users won't be able to create more than those resources. So this is useful when you want to delegate VM creation without having any risks for users to eat all your resources on your pools. So this is what we call like cloud-like features. You can do something similar with ACLs, for example, delegating one VM to some users. If you want your users, for example, to just access a console, to reboot a VM, or that kind of stuff with limited permission, you can do that. Also, with a plugin system, you can do a lot of interesting stuff, like connecting to an LDAP or Active Directory server. When you are connecting to Xen Orchestra, you can use also SAML, Google, or GitHub authentication. You got a lot of powerful tools like a load balancer, allowing you to, move VM, migrate VM from a host to another if there is too many loads, or that kind of stuff. You can have alerts if a host is working too hard, or if your storage repository is too close to be full. And also you have alerts when you have a backup. So you have backup reports. So if something is going wrong with the backup, you will get an email and you will know if there is a problem, because the worst thing that you can have about backup is something is failing, but you are not aware about that. So this is why we got a backup reports plugin sending you an email, or to Slack or MetaMask or any chat platform that you want to use. And finally, you got a usage report sending you a kind of a weekly or monthly report in PDF with the top VM used or the top host used, storage, etc. It could be useful to have, a report about the past and how your infrastructure is used. So this is the main features of Xen Orchestra. Also, outside this scope, it's the main use for our customers is having something easy to access all your hosts, all your VMs directly from the web UI. I didn't show you, but also you can access to the host console directly, so you can display the screen of your hosts remotely directly from Xen Orchestra. So as it's a web solution, it means that it can be accessed from any device that you like, and you don't have to install it, obviously, on your own PC. It's running as a server. The good thing about running as a server is that you can have statistics recorded for a long time. So it means you can analyze how your hosts are behaving and that kind of stuff. So you can also use some statistics to see if your hosts are really, used in terms of CPUs or about load average. So this is a heat map. So it means at this time we got a kind of more load average used right now. So you can make correlation with, for example, when you have a backup or something is happening. So all the things are really easy to use and to understand. You've got also a health view displaying if you have any problem with your storage, etc. So this is really the main entry point to manage all your XCP-ng hosts. If you want to learn more about Xen Orchestra, I strongly suggest that you just test it. Again, it's agentless, so it means you just deploy the Xen Orchestra appliance on your infrastructure. You just connect with this setting server, the pool master, or all your pool master that you want to connect, and then you can start to play with it. There is nothing to install. It works just out of the box. Okay, so you can also, if you want to do so, import OVAs or XVA directly from your web browser. So if you want, for example, to import some OVA from something else, just drop it inside the web browser, and then it will import the VM. That's pretty much it. Okay, so after the session, if you have basic question on Xen Orchestra or XCP-ng, feel free to ask. Then I will pass to Victor to make a demo about UDS.
Hello for all, and thank you for this time to attending this webinar. And now we are show you what can we do to deploy UDS Enterprise in the Xen Orchestra server. Now you are show you the same platform that our college Oliver is show you, And now you show 3 UDS servers. That is the MySQL, that is the database, that is storage, all the things that we configure in the platform. The UDS server, that is the server that is working to connect the users to the service that want to use, and the tunneler, that is the front end to the solutions, that is secure and doing the connection from the WAN to the LAN to our service. We are configuring these steps because if not, this presentation is so long. And this is you can see here the address is the same like the UDS server. I'm connected directly. This is the first page when you connect with first time in the UDS Enterprise, and you can change all the visual steps that you want. For example, I show you one type. This is in the University of Sevilla. This is the enter page to the UDS Enterprise for this company. The only thing that you need to continue in the page is the name of the users and the key, and the button for enter and send this information to the UDS Enterprise. Okay, now we go to enter to administrator user, because if not, I can show you the dashboard. This is the panel that I configured after, with 2 desktops and 3 virtual applications that we can connect. This Xen Orchestra is in our office, is in some infrastructure different like us, and we can connect directly for HTML5, for example, in an Ubuntu. This is connecting in this platform, and here we can see it is connected. We leave the machine. And we can do the same, for example, in RDP for Windows 10, that is connecting. Is doing the connection for the virtual desktop. And now is the XCP center installed in this virtual machine. We leave the machine. We can see that when we leave the machine, the Ubuntu service is erased from the machine and create a new one. And when the UDS Enterprise receive the signal for the Windows do the same, and erase the Windows Mile 2 and create another server. Well, we can use, for example, CMD in our version. You can do a ping. You can writing with any problem, and you can use it with all dispositifs that you have in your company. Now we are going to show you the dashboard. You can see in the first page a resume from our platform. In this case, we have 4 users created in the platform. We have 6 services that you see after. And it's nothing, ningún name server that is in restraint type, and we can use 5 services at this time. Well, to create one service pool, that is the thing that we show you after, you need to create some steps first. The first steps is create the service. The next steps is the authenticator, the OS manager, and the connectivity. We go to create the first step, is the service. Now we have 2 services different, one for the applications and another for the desktops. This is the platform that we are connected, that is a XCP-ng. We can select in the list of the new XenServer, and we can connect it with any problem. You need to provide the name to identify it in the list. You need to enter the IP address for the server that is in this case is here, is the master. This is the same address, and you need to enter the user and password with administrator users. The next tab, you can enter what machines you want to create at the same time and what in removal. With these things, you can connect with the test for that you show you. That is, you don't put the right terms, you can pass the test. We save the XCP configuration, and we need to create the service that is in the platform. Now we are creating 2. You need to create a name, to need to enter the LAN that you want to use, and you need to select what machine that you have in your pools is the same that you have here. You select the machines that you are created in your version, the memory RAM that you want to use, and what name you have that when you create one service is creating in the platform. For example, I show you the Linux that I show you, Ubuntu Mint, and you can show you here Ubuntu Mint with the numbers that we want to create it. When you create the service and the services that is in the platform, the next step is create the authenticator. You can use your authenticator if you have in your company, for example, an Active Directory or an LDAP, but if you haven't got any authenticator, we provide an internal database. In this case, we are using an internal database for connect to the service and the services. And for create, for example, an Active Directory, the things that you need is the name, one label to identify it, the IP address for the host, and the credentials for one user that can read in the Active Directory in this case. We don't write in the authenticator, only read. This is important because you don't need users that have an administrator users to take the machines. And if you want to create some specific group or some specific type of take the information for UDS Enterprise, you can create your expression regular. Well, when you create your authenticator, the next step is create the group of users. This group of users, you need to create the name. You need to create in what service pool you can to use it. And the next step, in this case, because it's an internal database, you need to create the users. But if you use, for example, an LDAP, when users connect to the platform, it's created automatically in our platform. Well, we have the service and the authenticator. The next step is the OS manager. The OS manager is the type of the service that we want to connect. For example, a Linux OS manager, a Linux that have a random password, or in case of Windows, if you can connect with a user that have the password and the user to connect in the desktop, or if you want to use a domain, is that something that you want to select. For example, in this case, we are using a Windows. We are using a Windows that when we leave the machine is removing from the platform and create a new one. We only need to create a name and a comment to the users can know what service are connecting. The next step is now at this moment we have the service, the authenticator, and the OS manager. We go to create the end of the previous task that we do to create a service pool, is to create the connectivity. In connectivity tab, we can find what type of connection we do it. In this case, we are using only the tunneled connectivity. Why? Because the Xen Orchestra isn't in our LAN. But if the platform that you want to connect is in our LAN, we can use the direct connection. If not, we are need to use the tunneled connection. You can use, for example, the HTML5 protocol to use in all dispositifs that you have in your company. Why? Because the connection doing through the browser, and the browser only need the HTML5 support. To create, for example, an RDP connection that you know, sure that you know, you only need to take one thing. For example, the name to the service. I show you something that is in use at this moment. The name of the service for you identify it after for when you create the service pool. If you want to allow the network access, then the next step is the IP address for the tunneler server. The next step is which users you want to connect. If you define in the protocol, you use it. But if not enter the user and password in this step, the user want to connect need to enter the user and password to the desktop. And you can allow so many parameters in this tab. For example, if you want to allow the printers, the serial port, if you want pass all the drivers that you connect in your computer, and in the tab display you can select in what type of site in the screen you have, or what type of the color you want to use. Then we have all the previous steps. We have the service, we have the authenticator, we have the OS manager, and we have the connectivity. The next step is create a puzzle. Why we say that it's a puzzle? Because when you create, for example, a SIMD that we can connect after, you need to enter the name to identify in the pools that you have at the enter of the service. You can enter the short name. You select the base service and the OS manager that we create after. The net tab, in the tab Advanced, you can show the transport that you want to connect or not. And in what image that you want to create in your platform or in what pull group, we can change it if we want. And the availability for this service. I show you the availability in a desktop because it's an important thing in this case. For example, we have to provide 10 machines in the maximum time, but we know that in the first hour in the company, the users can connect two users at the first time, and we know that the person that enter in the office in groups by default. Okay, when the first two persons connect to the platform, they consume these services, and these services put in available to connect to the other persons that go to the company. When the persons is consume these services that is in cache level 2, that is created, put in domain, enter for the user, but is in suspended session, only need to run in few seconds to be available to connect to the rest of the users. And the users don't need to wait to create the machines, to enter to the domain, and is more faster than if you need to create it with 0. Then we create the service, and now we need to enter in what transport protocol we can to use and what users can to connect. We select the internal database and the administrator, that is the group that we have. In this point, we can go to the user model and we can connect in a Windows 10, in an Ubuntu, or all service that you have created in your platform.
See, if you want to try our software, you can request it here. Try our software, and we have here all the different versions that you can request. This is a UDS Enterprise Free Edition. You get 10 users lifetime UDS Enterprise Free Edition, and then we have the other ones. So you can check and request whichever is better for you. Thanks to all of you for your assistance, and if you have any doubt, please you can write us on the email that is on the screen. Thank you. Bye.